Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast, episode number 5,492. I think Cinemondo podcast is approaching the same amount of episodes as One Piece.
Almost.
Maybe.
Oh, so close. You know, it's fun because we discovered one. I think it's always fun when you discover something that's kind of epic like this. And you discover it kind of randomly. Like the Netflix series was coming out. It was a live adaptation of One Piece. And we're like, what's One Piece? And then I thought, maybe we should check it out. So we started checking it out. And like, we should review this because it was so good. And so we were doing this parallel live action animation together, as we were watching it. So we kind of had a little hint of what was to come because we were kind of watching the anime at the same time. Well, now we're way past the live action, still loving it. And now we're getting into uncharted territory because now we're seeing stuff we haven't seen live action. So we've been covering the new arcs. And it's interesting to me going, what are they going to cover in the new live action? Like this arc seems like something that's probably going to be the next one, I think, because it's so epic and huge. It would make sense to go into the Arabasta arc.
And I hear that they're doing casting for the character of Robin. So maybe they're going to do this.
Smoker's in it because we saw Smoker at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's
my experience with One Piece is I remember hearing about it and seeing that logo and seeing the characters and really liking some of the character drawings and seeing it as being that kind of Shonen Jump style of.
Yes.
I always really liked Lupin, the Japanese show Lupin, which is an example of that style, that really wild. They call it like Bigfoot cartoon style, where the characters are kind of realistic and they drive cars and they do human things, but they have these really big feet and they're like really exaggerated character style. And
now I know you were loving seeing the feet. That was something I know you really liked.
Well, don't ever play a drinking game with One Piece where you drink every time they show toes
running through the I know we were talking about, like, there's so many shots of running. And also because I was doing some new stuff with my computer and I was so inspired, like, because I'm watching the show now, that I've made these my icons on my desktop.
Oh, nice.
There you go, some storage for you. It's
Luffy.
Like I have Luffy and Chopper, because Chopper's my new favorite. I know some people think Chopper's
cool.
dorky, but I love Chopper. And
Chopper is dorky,
has some great moments in this arc. I mean, when he and Usopp were fighting, and Chopper's flipping out because he thinks Usopp's he's gonna die, and so he's just screaming. He's like, "Oh, you need a doctor!" And then Usopp, you are a doctor. It's like barely. He's like, "Oh yeah." So I love his freak outness, and also when he freaks out and he just kind of pops into his big form.
Yeah.
And he still has that.
Well, that's what's so cool about Chopper. He's like this little teddy bear character with a baby voice, but he can turn into this giant, strong, like werewolf man, like a giant reindeer with a blue nose reindeer.
He's a baby reindeer.
But I know.
Netflix show.
But Chopper in his giant form, he's like this. He still has the little baby Chopper voice. It's so funny.
I'm a sucker for the cute stuff. So I love Chopper. A lot of people think Chopper's like lame, but I think Chopper's amazing. I love him.
Yeah.
So that was great for me because Chopper got a lot to do in this. So I enjoyed that. But this art, my God, it's like, it was so huge and epic.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's epic.
I don't see how the live action won't do this art, because this just seems like the natural segue into like a big epic, 8 episode thing,
It is definitely the Lawrence of Arabia in 70 millimeter, segment of One Piece.
Yes.
It's desert. It's the desert. So I felt like it kind of dragged a bit near the end, but partly because there was just the fight. Like the fights never ended. But ultimately, it
was
had
a war, Burke. It was a war. It was not a fight.
Well, it was the character fights. Sanji versus and Usopp and Chopper versus and Nami versus they each had their big drawn out wrestling, like professional wrestling match against the opponent, and it was fun. I mean, it was fun, but I just felt like this arc went on too long. But like some people say, it is a pretty epic arc that introduces new characters. It it doesn't just take place in one town. They go from town to town. It takes place in a country, and you really get the feeling
Yeah, that's
that
new. That's something we haven't seen because mostly it's been little islands, right?
or little town, like little
Yeah, villages.
like right next to the dock, and it's a little
Yeah,
fishing village or something. But
right.
this country that had they had to go from this town to that
Yeah,
town. They had to trek across the desert. There's a whole lot of I mean, if you play World of Warcraft and you go from one
yeah.
to another, and you have to go run, 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 and you're looking at the map, and the question mark is like 20 miles away, and you're like, that's what
That's
this,
when you jump on your flying mount.
which I don't know if I ever got one, but in One Piece, they do that. They go from
Yeah,
place to place, and it takes them a while, and they go through adventures on the way, and they meet
yeah,
characters on the way from here to there. So it gives you that sense of the size of this
yeah.
island. It was a
Yes,
vast space, which works really well
yes.
in this case. And the desert setting
Mhm.
is not as beautiful or baroque as it has been.
Mhm.
Not to reference baroque works, but just the style of baroque, where everything has got like it's beautifully designed and beautifully organized in these little towns, being like from different cultures. Like this one
Right.
is kind of looks like a Swiss village. This one looks
Mhm.
like a Chinese village, but this one looks like Tatooine. It's like they're
It
on
does. Yeah, it
the
does.
desert in Star Wars forever.
And I loved Vivi. Thought she was a great
Yeah,
addition. I liked her evolution as a character. I loved her duck, Karu,
yeah,
Karu, Karu,
Karu, yeah,
Karu. I loved him, and when he was getting, injured and trying to save her during that big battle, I was like, and I thought he was dead. I was about to die.
I know.
So I was freaking out a little bit about that. And she was so like distraught, and it just felt like the big moment of like, yes, Karu is dead. She has to deal now. And I was like, they did not just do that. But thank God they did not just do that because I would have been very upset. I don't like it when they do that.
There's questionable, animal treatment on
Yeah,
this
animal
show.
treatment's a little weird, but they do also beat up men. I mean, men. They also
Yeah,
beat up men and women. But
yeah,
the other
everybody.
interesting thing was, I think it's the first time we've seen. Let me think back. Is this the first time we've seen Luffy actually lose fights? I mean, he actually got really severely injured, like bad.
Yeah.
But how do
What?
you beat Crocodile? Honestly, the guy cannot. You can't injure him. Well, we know
Well, they
how.
have to make they can't make Luffy beat everyone immediately. I mean, you have to worry about
But
Luffy.
this is the first time he really like. We thought he
Yeah.
was a goner. I mean, we know he's not because it's One Piece. But if you were watching it live as it happened, I mean, you don't know if there's going to be another season. But I like how they kind of just buried him for a while
Right.
in the sand. Is it quicksand? Quicksand, that thing we're all afraid of.
Yeah. Where is all the quicksand?
Where's all the quicksand? I'm always afraid I'm going to die doing that. It's going to catch up with me.
And lakes
But I
with
did
piranha
enjoy
fish.
that. I thought that was cool. It just felt like they'd elevated all the stakes in this. Like it felt like everything. It was a bigger continent. It was a bigger
Yeah.
kingdom. It was bigger stakes. Like everybody has something in play that I thought was really strong. Like it just felt like instead of sort of this kind of contained little story, which is still great because I love the
Yeah.
more intimate, emotional ones. I love that
Yeah.
they made this really a big. It was a war. It's a huge war that they've been trying to stop, and they actually go to war, which I did not expect. I thought,
Yeah.
they'll be fine, they'll stop it, but they did not, and it was like, what? It's insane.
In the previous arc, you hear Vivi talking about my country and I have to go back and help. And it's like, it turns out she did need to go back and help.
She
And
did.
there really was a war. And
Mhm.
the way they do things on One Piece is they set you up early, and there'll be like little clues early on, and they'll show you flashbacks. Like you see Vivi when she was a child
Yeah.
and her friend, the little boy, and the things they went through, and the things that made her the way she is, and the things that made the little boy the way he
Right.
is, and who he became as he grew up, and
Mhm.
the way they're kind of against each other. There's so much depth and character development on this show
Yeah.
for something that's as zany as it can be.
I know.
It can
And
also be just nuts.
it can be nuts, and then it's really sophisticated, like very
Yeah.
adult themes about friendship and emotions and death, and I'm always amazed how they can really tread that line of making
Yeah.
something seem really sad and terrible and then really funny all at the same
Yeah.
time. It's very strange. It's really pretty genius. So
It
I
is. It's like
I was very impressed by this.
And the way they bring in some elements that are not realistic, this will not happen
Yeah.
in the real world. Like, you know, Chopper is a talking baby reindeer, a blue-nosed reindeer, and that
Those
doesn't really
reindeer.
happen in the real world, but it happens in One Piece world, you know.
That's right. One Piece.
They are that's another thing that's interesting to talk about, like where are they? And it doesn't you realize it kind of doesn't matter. It's like Game of Thrones, where at first you're thinking, I mean, there's a series of science fiction books that take place in the future, and it's a kind of medieval type of future, and every so often they uncover something that makes you realize this is Earth in the way distant future.
Right.
But not that doesn't happen on Game of Thrones, and it doesn't happen for sure on One Piece. They don't find, you know, they don't come across the giant rotten Statue of Liberty on one of these islands, and
That was a full fantasy world.
it's a
It's a whole
full
world.
fantasy world.
That's right.
There's certain things they don't have, and certain things that they have that we don't have, like their snail telephones and things like that. That's how they communicate, and it's just normal in this world.
That's right. And we talked a little off mic about how great the ending was, that last episode. But yeah, we should go over that.
The end of the arc.
Oh yeah,
We're pushing
like
forward to the end. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to the end. We're not going to do the post Arabasta arcs, and we're going to do them separately because they feel like very different feel. But we wanted to wrap this one up of the big epic battle story on the continent. But that ending scene where they're on the boat all together, and first of all, I love the idea of the bandages so that they were identifiable. You know, like that they know who was who. That was great, and I love that. And I love the big reveal at the end where they're all on the ship and Vivi is behind, and you're like, oh.
Well, you think Vivi's going to join? My thought, I remember thinking, she just found her voice. You know, she just sort of united her people, and she used her strength as a leader and as the princess, and she sort of grew up. She did.
She was all like, "I'm a princess." I don't know. And all of a sudden, she was like, "Oh, I get it now. The weight that I carry in this position." She all of a sudden realized she has to just really speak up and get out there.
And also the fact that the people like her, and she finally got, you know, it was like a little bit of back and forth where people were with her and then they weren't, and then they were with her, and then finally she's like, you know, speaks, and the people finally, they're sword fighting out there, and finally they go, look, it's Princess Vivi, and they listen to her. So she finally helps to unite and helps her father gain some strength back. And as much as I don't like the idea of kings and emperors and all that kind of stuff, in fantasy stories, it's part of it. So you have to kind of accept. But I remember thinking, she's going to join the Straw Hat. She's going to just abandon this country that she helped save and
But I want her to stay.
I know you want her to be a member of the Straw Hats,
but a member of the Straw Hats.
Her dad needs her, and her country needs her.
They do. And she has bigger things to do than be a pirate.
Yeah, they need to rebuild, and so you're thinking that's sort of selfish of her to want to go off and have this sort of fun. Let's all go out on the ocean and just be goofy together and have fun. She's got serious work to do.
Yeah, she's got business. It's very true.
So the ending was very poignant, where she makes her choice.
I was torn because I wanted her to go with them, but I kind of got why she didn't. But when they were all like showing their allegiance and they had their oh my god, dying with that. Oh, so
it was pretty awesome. It was an iconic moment, I think, for the show.
It really was.
And
it was fantastic.
And her, you know, bidding them, you know, like, come back and see us, and they were, you know, we're gonna come back and we're gonna see how well you've rebuilt your city. So I imagine maybe they go back at some point in the future. Who knows?
Oh yeah, maybe they hook up again at some point. Yeah, because now that everything's settled and there's water again, and you know, it won't be a desert thing forever.
Yeah, and they've finally maybe stopped the fighting. They did some diplomacy there, and a lot of fighting. Finally got these people to stop fighting. I wish that would happen in the real world.
I wish we could just say, "Hey, you guys, Princess Vivi's here, and no more fighting." And everybody goes, "You know what? That's a good idea. Let's not fight anymore."
Yeah, but it happens in One Piece land.
That's what gives you hope. That's one thing the show does kind of give you hope in a weird way, because we have these huge stakes, so much conflict. We have really bad guys. I mean, Crocodile is like one of the worst we've seen so far. I mean, he was like,
We have
And
to
then
talk
yet
about
they
Crocodile.
somehow, yeah, we'll talk about Crocodile. But it's like I like how they get through all this stuff insurmountable, and some things don't necessarily work out the way they want. But I like that they find a way through, and then they find hope, and they move on, and they have victories, and they have losses. But it's like I like that they kind of show you that that's just part of it. You can still find happiness after bad things happen, or you can find victory. You can find, I don't know. There's a lot, like I said, it's so complex. This show is so complex. Oh,
and bad guys are often really complex too. They're not they're not just bad guys. There's quite a few like, nemesis type characters who show up, and then they end up being friends with them, or you start realizing that this person is the way they are. Like her friend, why can't I remember his name? Her friend when she was a kid, the boy who grows up to be the rebel. Correct me in the comments. So many names, I can't keep up.
Is it Koza?
Koza, yeah. Koza. Is it Koza?
Or is it? Yeah, I think it's Koza.
But he becomes a sympathetic character. You realize why he's motivated that way, and you get him, and he's not just a bad guy, and he's not a bad guy. But you realize that the idea here is that you've got two opposing forces. Neither one of them are bad. And that's the way it is in the real world. People in different countries are not bad guys. It's not like if there's a war going on between these two countries, it's not the country versus the country. That so many people think, that country is bad. That country is bad people. There's a lot of people in that country who don't want to be warring with this other country, and there's a lot of people in this country that don't want to be, and it's like they're defending themselves usually against one or two sociopathic leaders who just want more oil or want more stuff.
They want more oil. They want to stay out of prison. They want to
they want to stay out of prison.
They want to, there's so many complex reasons why, and that's another thing. Like, it's not. But
it's never the people.
That's what
it's not the people. It's not those kids out there driving those army tanks. They're just following, what they're supposed to do for their country, and that is the tragedy of war. And I think One Piece kind of points out in the fact that they have this war going on, where you can sympathize with both sides in a way. You can see it and you understand, and that's kind of what I love about it's not not just the evil forces coming in, the angry evil bad guys.
So that again, we have One Piece who brings in some incredible characters. We met lots of great, standout. You think like, we're 100 episodes in. How many more? We had Crocodile. We have Vivi. We have Luffy's brother.
Yeah.
These are all like new cool characters that they brought in from nowhere.
Yeah. Luffy's brother, Ace.
Really enjoyed this. I mean, it was a lot. It was a very long arc. I'm looking forward to some little shorter bites and some more new adventures and some new lands. Very excited. I was actually kind of really, as much as it was sad to see Vivi left behind, I'm very excited to see them sailing off. I was very glad we're now going to some new adventures.
Yeah, and coming up, there's some really fun stuff. I won't. I'm not going to go there just yet, but
we're going to go there very soon. Though, stay tuned.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys. And we're having a great time. Be sure and post. I mean, this was a lot of episodes. We were trying to keep these the reviews kind of short. But put in the comments anything that stood out to you, the things that you liked best about this episode, what you thought was important, some themes, maybe some characters. Let us know what you think, because we love to hear more about it. Because we're still learning. So I'd love to hear what people have to say and what really resonates with them about this show.
Yeah. And did we miss something? Or did we, talking about this whole thing and we totally missed the most obvious cool thing about it?
Every time we sign off, I'm like, we didn't talk about.
I know. I totally forgot to talk about this thing. My favorite part.
What about the squad? We didn't even talk about
the duck squad. Yeah. And Pell, the fact that the one of my favorite characters, a very cool design with the black lines.
Pell.
The Hawkman and the Dogman.
Dogman was amazing.
I must protect. Yeah. And which is a dog thing, we all have dogs, and if my dog was a human, he would protect me.
He would do that. I know he would mind you.
And then Pell, of course, who dies, I think, a couple of times in this, and you realize at the end there's a shot of him at his own
Maybe he doesn't.
grave, and you realize Pell is still alive. So there's something magical about Pell.
More great characters. I hope we see more of them. We need more of them.
It seems we're probably going to see more of them because they're still there. And Pell, you know, they made a point to show that he is still alive.
Just like John Wick, you know, he keeps coming back. There's like, he shows up in his own grave.
It's really hard to die in One Piece land.
You don't die very easily in One Piece. In fact, even the ones that do die, I'm like, question it.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
Coming up after Arabasta, you see some characters return, and you're like,
yay!
Wow,
Oh,
long
all right.
time ago.
We'll be hitting up the next episodes very soon.
Yes.
All
Fun episode coming.
See you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
See you.